In the dry lands of southern Peru, the ground itself holds a giant secret. From high in the air, you can see huge drawings carved into the earth, so big that you can only understand them from the sky. These are the Nazca Lines, a mystery left behind by a people who lived long ago. For hundreds of years, these amazing pictures were hidden in plain sight. They show giant animals, strange shapes, and lines that go on for miles. How did people make such big art without being able to fly? And more importantly, why did they do it? To find the answers, we must first meet the Nazca people. They lived in this desert between the years 100 BCE and 800 CE. This place is one of the driest spots on our whole planet. For the Nazca, finding and using water was the most important job every single day. They were great farmers who learned how to grow food in the desert. They were also amazing artists. We have found their beautiful pottery, which is painted with pictures of animals, gods, and people. Many of the same creatures on their pots are also drawn on the desert floor. This tells us that these drawings were very important to their way of life and what they believed. The Nazca people put their world into their art, both small and very, very large. The way they made the lines is clever and simple. The desert floor is covered with a thin layer of dark, reddish-brown rocks. This top layer is only about 10 to 15 centimeters deep. Underneath these dark rocks, the ground is a much lighter sandy color. The Nazca workers just had to move the top layer of dark rocks to the side. This uncovered the light ground below, creating a line that stands out. Because it almost never rains or has strong wind here, their drawings have stayed for more than 1,000 years. The lines are not all the same. We can put them into three main groups. The first group is the most famous, with over 70 pictures of animals and plants. We call these the biomorphs. There is a spider, a huge bird called a condor, and even a monkey with a long, curly tail. A second group of drawings are shapes. There are hundreds of perfect triangles, long rectangles, and spirals. Some of these shapes are huge, much bigger than a sports field. They are laid out with great care across the flat desert land. The last group is the most common and maybe the most mysterious. There are thousands of long, straight lines. Some of these lines run for many miles, going over hills and valleys without a single curve. They cross over each other and even cut through the animal drawings, making a giant puzzle on the ground. A mystery this big makes people wonder. For many years, some people thought the giant lines were runways for spaceships from other worlds. This is an exciting idea, but archaeologists have never found any proof that this is true. Other scientists looked to the sky for answers. They thought the lines might be a huge calendar, pointing to where the sun and stars would rise on special days. This was a more scientific idea, but it only explained a few of the hundreds of lines. Most of them did not seem to point to anything in the sky. But what if everyone was looking in the wrong direction? What if the answer was not in the stars above, but in the ground right under their feet? Archaeologists started to see a pattern. The clue was hidden in the Nazca people's greatest challenge, finding water in a very dry desert. This is where we find one of the Nazca's most amazing creations, the puquillos. These are special tunnels built deep underground. They work like hidden rivers, carrying water from under the mountains to the Nazca's farms. This clever system let them grow food where it almost never rained. When we look closely, we see a connection. Many of the long, straight lines point directly to where these puquillos are, and some of the animal shapes are drawn right on top of places where water flows underground. It seems the lines were a giant map, pointing to the most precious thing in the desert, water. This amazing discovery tells us that the Nazca people had a deep understanding of the land. They knew exactly where to find water hidden from sight. The lines were not just art. They were a tool for survival, a guide to life itself in a harsh place. This idea changes everything. It means the lines were probably not made to be seen from the sky, but to be walked on the ground. Imagine people walking together along these huge paths. Archaeologists have found evidence for this. The ground along the lines is packed down, as if many feet walked there long ago. They have also found broken pieces of pottery at places where the lines meet. These look like special pots that were used in ceremonies. It seems the Nazca people would walk these paths as part of a special event, perhaps to ask their gods for rain and good crops. The lines were like a giant open-air temple. Think of them as holy pathways. Walking a line that pointed to a water source could have been a way of giving thanks. Walking the path of a monkey or a spider could have been a way to ask for the special powers that these animals stood for. The animal pictures themselves were very important. On Nazca pottery, we see pictures of powerful people, or shamans, who seem to change into spirit animals. The hummingbird, the spider, and the giant condor were not just animals. They were mighty gods and spirits in the Nazca world, each with a special meaning. These giant drawings may have also been maps to the spirit world. Some researchers believe that Nazca shamans, or spiritual leaders, used these paths in ceremonies to connect with their gods and the spirits of animals, asking for balance and protection for their people. Think about the people who made these lines. This was not the work of one person, or even one group of people. This was a huge project that took many families working together for hundreds of years. Grandparents, parents, and children all played a part. They worked together over many generations to create something so big they could never see it finished themselves. This shows a deep faith and a strong community. It tells us about a shared human need to create something lasting, something bigger than one single life. So, what is the real purpose of the Nazca Lines? The most exciting idea is that there is not just one answer. The lines are not just one thing. They are a big, complex, sacred area that was built and changed over 800 years. They were part calendar for watching the sun and stars, and part map for finding precious water. They were also pathways for important religious walks. All of these ideas are likely true at the same time. This means the desert floor was like a giant, open-air temple for the Nazca people. It was a special place where their beliefs about the sky, the earth, and the spirit world all came together. They used this sacred land for all their most important ceremonies. And the desert is still telling us its secrets. Today, we use modern tools like drones and satellites. With these tools, scientists are finding new drawings all the time. Some are even older than the Nazca lines. These new lines were made by earlier people, like the Paracas and Topara cultures. This tells us that the tradition of drawing on the earth is very, very old in this part of the world. Each new discovery helps us understand this amazing puzzle a little bit more. The Nazca lines are an ancient echo, a silent message written on the biggest page in the world. They teach us that ancient people had a deep and clever connection to the world around them. This connection was for real needs, like finding water, and for spiritual needs, like talking to their gods. They remain a powerful reminder of human creativity and faith. Looking at them, we are connected to the people who walked these paths so long ago, and we are left to wonder at the beautiful mystery they left behind for us to find. In this very dry land, water was the most precious gift. Archaeologists have uncovered pieces of broken pots right at the end of some lines. This tells us that people likely gathered there for important ceremonies, perhaps leaving offerings of water or food to thank their gods. The lines pointed to places where water flowed under the ground, making them a map to life itself. This makes so much sense. For the Nazca people, living in one of the driest places on Earth, finding water was everything. The lines were not just art. They were a deep connection to survival, a way to talk to the gods who controlled the rain and the rivers. Each line was a prayer etched into the earth. But what if the lines were also meant to be walked on? Some experts believe these long, straight paths were ceremonial walkways. Imagine people walking slowly and carefully along these lines, single file, as part of a big religious event. The lines were not just to be seen, but to be experienced. By walking these paths, the Nazca people would feel connected to the land and the sky. The straight lines could lead to sacred mountains, and the animal shapes could be special areas for different kinds of ceremonies. It was a way for the whole community to come together and share in their beliefs. This brings us to the amazing animal figures: the giant hummingbird, the monkey, the spider. Why these animals? Scientists now think these were not random choices. Each animal was a powerful symbol. They were chosen because they meant something very important to the Nazca people. For example, the hummingbird is known for its fast movements and connection to flowers, a sign of life and water. The monkey and the spider are animals often linked to rain and fertility in ancient stories from this part of the world. By drawing them so large, the Nazca were calling on the power of these spirits to help them. Another idea looks at the spiritual leaders of the Nazca, sometimes called shamans. These were special people who were believed to travel to the spirit world. Some researchers think the lines could have been maps for these spiritual journeys. The shaman might see a spider or a bird in a vision, and the drawing on the ground helped guide that journey. The animal shapes might show the spirit animals that helped the shaman connect with the gods. By walking the shape of a powerful animal, they could feel its strength and wisdom. This made the desert floor a giant sacred space for connecting with a world beyond our own. Today, new tools are helping us see the desert in a new way. Drones and satellite images have revealed dozens of new, smaller lines that were hidden for thousands of years. Many of these newly found shapes were made by even earlier people before the Nazca. This tells us that drawing on the desert was a very old tradition. So, what was the real purpose of the Nazca lines? The answer is likely not just one thing. They were probably a map to water, a place for ceremonies, a calendar for the stars, and a guide for spiritual journeys all at once. It was a giant, sacred book, written on the land, with each chapter holding a different secret.